1 year ago, we stepped away from each other and ventured into an unknown territory. We washed our hands a lot. We worried about finding paper products, yeast, and pasta. We consumed more hand sanitizer in a month than we may have consumed in the entirety of the previous 12 months. It has been a long year of pandemic, and in that time, there have been so many deaths. As of today, 12,802 in Indiana, 530,000 in the United States, and 2.63 million deaths worldwide. This Shabbat marks 1 year since we closed the temple building and took refuge from COVID-19 in our homes. We began our Minhag Zoom and continued to stay connected as a prayer community online. The idea of intentionally making our world smaller has an interesting connection to this week's Parashat Vayakhel-Pekudei. The double Torah portion continues the transmission of instructions for building the tabernacle, as it has for quite a few weeks now. But before the instructions for the work begin, God, through Moses, first admonishes the Israelites. On 6 days work may be done, but on the seventh day you shall have a Sabbath of complete rest, holy to the eternal. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death. Lest the Israelites lose themselves in the enormity of their work, God first makes very clear that observing Shabbat is paramount, so important that desecrating Shabbat results in a rare death sentence. Looking back further to chapter 16 in the book of Exodus, Torah offers a different perspective of Shabbat, one that seems particularly relevant to this moment. See that the Eternal has given you Shabbat. And therefore, the Eternal gave you on the sixth day a 2-day portion of bread, so that you may sit in your place of residence on the seventh day. So the people observed Shabbat on the seventh day. In Torah, sitting in one's place transforms Shabbat into a celebration of home life by making the need to go out into the field to harvest food unnecessary. The rabbis expanded this notion by restricting travel outside of the city. The maximum distance that one may travel on Shabbat, according to the rabbis, is 2,000 steps outside of one's town. From the Torah's and the rabbis' perspective, making our world smaller on Shabbat is a commandment, and it is a blessing. Let's take that in for a moment. It is a commandment, and it is a blessing. And let's acknowledge that being restricted to our homes, literally or symbolically, the other 6 days per week for 52 weeks running is no picnic. The pandemic has introduced a degree of fear and trepidation in daily life that is, thank God, been previously unknown to us. And living in a smaller world, a world that we experience in smaller increments of time, day by day. About this small time, Rabbi Dennis Sasso of Congregation Beth El Tzedek in Indy writes, Last year, as the pandemic became entrenched, I shared a passage from Annie Lamott, about the art of quilt making. I proposed that we were living through quilt-like times, getting through each day stitch by stitch, patch by patch. A year has passed, and spring is almost upon us again. It is time to look at what we've created, the pieces we managed to salvage, and the threads we used to sew the fragments together. Our quilt, a patchwork of sorrow and loss, of hope and faith, has been stitched together with heroism, altruism, and simple perseverance. As we have endured this past year one day at a time, Rabbi Sasso provides a powerful metaphor for coping with the worry and the fear that has been with many of us at frequently and varying times throughout the pandemic. Each day is a square in the quilt of our lives. And we move through this COVID world stitch by stitch and patch by patch. This Shabbat, we pass the 1-year mark of the pandemic, of the shutdowns and the quarantines that have become for now a way of life. But things are changing with increasing speed for the better. In just 3 weeks, we will begin our temple's process of coming back together gradually. This will not be the end of the pandemic. Rather, it will be the next phase that brings us closer to the end. There will still be familiarity. It won't be like it was before COVID changed our lives, but it will be better. And the new patches we add to our quilt will be unlike anything we've experienced so far in this pandemic. I'd like to close with a blessing. This blessing is offered by Rabbi Sasso. May the blanket of beauty and warmth we have created embrace and enfold us as we move towards blessings of renewal, of healing, and of joy. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will. Shabbat Shalom.